Hi, my name is Tunisia Davis, also known as MahoganyGirl725. The purpose of this channel is to talk about investments. From the time that we're born to the time that we die, we are always investing in something. But before I get to talking about investments, let me give you a bit of background about myself. I was born and raised in Lumberton, North Carolina. After graduating high school, I went to Howard University. Now, my first 2 years at Howard were a struggle. Howard is located in Washington, D.C. It is considered the mecca of black colleges, if you will. And for my first 2 years, which cost approximately $30,000, I struggled. I went to school, I went to work, I went home, I went this, and I was just on what Robert T. Kiyosaki calls the rat race. I had already begun the rat race. I had gotten credit cards somehow that I couldn't afford. 3 credit cards, mind you, a Discover, a MasterCard, and a Visa. Didn't have a job, didn't have anything. But, so I was already in debt. I was already starting out negative. Hadn't paid a bill, so my credit score was already nil before I even hit the age of 20. By the time I got to my sophomore year, I thought to myself, I have skills that I need to parlay into making money. So I obtained a swimming scholarship partial. From there, I also walked onto the tennis team. So my junior and senior years, I had a full scholarship for tennis. From there, now during my junior year in college, I met my soon husband. We had our daughter, Aquia, and essentially I had all of these people in my ear saying, you need to drop out of school, you're going to lose your scholarship, you're going to do this, you're going to do that. But I knew my purpose and I knew my place. So if you know your purpose and you've got people talking to your ear, sometimes you have to tune them out and you just have to keep going down the path that you are destined to go down. So essentially, with help from family, from friends, I ended up graduating college cum laude within 4 years. Upon graduation, I went and worked for Sprint as a department assistant. From there, I worked my way up as a network operations specialist. During that time, we had our second daughter, Maya. And from network operations, I ended up getting a budget analyst job. In between that time, got divorced, moved to California. Also in between that time, September 11th, 2001 happened. So at that point, like many Americans, we got a call. Some of us went into the military. I later joined the FBI as a special agent. I got sent to the San Antonio Division, McAllen, RA, which McAllen is a border town to Progreso and Reynosa, Mexico. I worked white-collar crimes, which are healthcare fraud mostly, also mortgage fraud, bank fraud, different types of frauds and schemes for 5.5 years. During that period, I went crazy, literally crazy, kept beating my head up against this wall. The FBI is like anything else. It's smoke and mirrors. Until you've been in a law enforcement agency or around law enforcement agents, whether from police to the FBI or DEA, whomever, you don't know what kind of a maze it is, right? So essentially from there, my fellow agents dispatched to my home on a Sunday afternoon, got me to the hospital. From the hospital, they put me into a psychiatric unit where I was diagnosed with bipolar disorder, which is a diagnosis I refute, but that's another day for another time. Now, after that, I realized I'm going to have to resign from the FBI, which I eventually did. But between the time that I was diagnosed and the time that I resigned, I got my realtor's license. I became a realtor. I had already had some investment properties in Texas as well as Virginia, Northern Virginia area. So I became a realtor. The real estate market in 2010 was crap. So if you didn't have some deals already working or you hadn't been networking, then you were SOL, shit out of luck, like I was. I ended up coming back to the DC area under less than favorable circumstances, let's put it that way. And coming back here, as I said, I lost pretty much my shirt, so I had to become homeless. I went into a homeless shelter. From there, I began to slowly regroup and rebuild and rebuild and rebuild. And I made contacts. I got a job in retail. From retail, I went to banking. From banking, I went back to retail. And recently, retail fired my ass. And from the firing, again, I went to a homeless state. But here, in my mind, I had to empty out all of those doubts and negativity and all of that and just purify myself, as if you are actually putting yourself in a fire like a jeweler does with gold or silver or any type of metal. You know, they have to heat it up and warm it and get away all those impurities. And that's pretty much what I did. And now I'm working in consulting. I'm doing odd jobs and things. And what I've found is the 16 hours of consulting work that I do per week, I make more than what I did in retail when I had all of these people coming into my office, all of this negativity around me. So sometimes you can use a firing or a termination as a way to get fired or up, or a determination to determine what your future is going to be. And no one can label you or make you into something that you're not. So if you've got negativity around, the first key is to get the hell away from that. Get into your garden of Gethsemane, if you will, just as Jesus got into the garden and he prayed so much so that he had blood coming down from his eyes, tears. Even the people around him, his disciples. If you read it, you can read it in any of the Gospels, Matthew, Mark, Luke, or John, where he went to his disciples and said, oh my, you're not staying up with me, you're not praying, because he knew that he was getting ready to go in his valley. He knew that he was getting ready to get on that cross. So the key is that all of us, we all know that we've got to get on that cross. At some point, we've got to pick up that cross. Nobody's going to pick it up for us. So the question is what is your cross? And thinking of that cross, what are you investing in? Are you investing yourself into a job that is, you're going in the rat race, you're getting up, you're going to work, you're coming home, you're eating, you're doing the same thing from day to day to day? If so, then the question is, why are you doing it? Are you doing it to finance the life that you really don't care for? Or are you doing it to finance a burning desire within you? Are you doing it to finance your calling, your birthright, right? So the question is you're investing your time and your money and your resources into something. And time is the most valuable resource that we have, which is why I call myself a time investor. I'm going to invest in that warmth currency. What I call warmth currency is spreading the love. You know, God, when he sent his son, S-O-N, down to roam the earth with us, he gave us the physical sun, the light, the S-U-N, the light of our lives. And he told us that he would light us and that he would be with us always. So just as the sun rested for 3 days and rose again, as the sun rests at night and rises in the morning to the east, the question is, what are you coming and going? What are you resting and coming up on? Because if your investment is not giving you a return, a reasonable return, or a phenomenal return, then you are investing in the wrong thing. And we're not talking about a bank account. We're talking about a spiritual account, right? You have to realize that the spirit within you is going to account for something. Either it's going to be a WOT, a W-O-T, a waste of time, or it's going to be a return on investment that says, well done, thy good and faithful servant. And those are the words that I want to hear, that I need to hear, that I'm believing to hear when I graduate from this earth. So are you whatting or are you doing? Are you wasting your time or are you doing something with your time so that it can have an accounting for, not just for now, but for generations to come? Because what we're doing now is building or tearing down the generations that are to follow. So what legacy are you leaving? This is not about a name legacy. This is about a coming of age, a being, a getting there.